Yeah, for the people in Ohio who are rushing to the post office today, here's the good news. This is the last time you'll have to file your taxes under the old code, and the new one's better. It's better for you because it's simpler. It's better for you because there's lower rates. One reason it's simpler is that for most people I represent, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they do take the standard deduction, and the standard deduction doubles. So that's a huge deal because it just makes it much simpler to file your taxes, plus you get more relief. Second, they get a doubling of the child tax credit, which a lot of people take advantage of already. The refundability of it is also increased, so even if you don't have income tax liability, you still get to take advantage of taking a bigger break for having kids. And then third, the rates are lower. And people already know that because I've been to a number of businesses around Ohio. We've had 13 visits to companies, talking to employees, and they say to me, another $40 showed up in my paycheck thanks to the withholding changing. So the IRS already, way back in January and February, changed the withholding so that people are having less withheld from their paychecks. 90% of the people I represent and 90% of the people in America, on average, are seeing their withholding changing already. But now, on tax day, they're paying their taxes from last year. A year from now, they'll be paying their taxes from this year, and they'll see lower taxes as well. So not just a benefit on the withholding, but also the lower rates are going to kick in, doubling of the standard deduction, doubling on the child tax credit. This is really helping people in Ohio. Median family income in Ohio, it's about $2,000 a year. That's big. And we've heard some of the uses people put it to. One that I find is particularly helpful right now is health care. Health care is more and more expensive, so wages have been flat. Health care costs have gone up. A lot of people have felt that middle class squeeze. Now they got a little more money maybe to put against their health care, which some people are doing in Ohio. Others have told me they're going to do a little bit more in terms of their retirement. So they haven't been able to max out on their 401k if they've got one at work, or they haven't been able to put money against their IRA. Now they're able to. That's really important too. I think one of the more exciting things about tax reform is the fact that it's also changing our economy in a positive way. So not only are people next year going to be able to file their taxes more simply, be able to have a little more tax relief, but it's helping economic growth. And by the way, it's particularly helping in terms of the tax relief people who are at the low end of the economic scale. So over 3 million Americans who had tax liability under the old tax code will have no income tax liability under the new code. Think about that. 3 million people are out from under the IRS altogether. And these are folks who don't make a lot of money, having a tough time making ends meet, but have had to worry about the IRS. They're going to have to worry about it today. They have to file their taxes. Next year, they will not have any tax liability. So that's the reality of the tax relief and tax reform measures we've put in place. In terms of economic growth, by the way, the other component that's exciting, based on some reports that have come out recently, is that wages are starting to go up. And the CBO attributes that primarily to tax reform and tax relief. So for the first time in really more than a decade, we're seeing wages start to rise. You've seen it last month, the month before. We'll see it going forward, according to the Congressional Budget Office. This means that people are going to be able to get out of that middle-class squeeze because although expenses might continue to be high in some areas like health care, at least their wages are going up to accommodate that. That's a big deal. Yesterday, I was at the Kroger Company in Cincinnati. It's one of the largest employers in the country, also a huge company in Cincinnati, where I'm from. It's headquartered there. And they made a series of announcements, as have hundreds of companies around the country, even thousands. And their announcement is pretty simple. We're going to invest in our people. So they're going to increase their 401k match. They're going to increase their employee assistance match for folks who get in trouble, have a financial difficulty. They're going to do a lot in terms of education, continuing education, $3,500 a year. They're going to give any employee who's been there 6 months, part-time or full-time, if they're going to go back to school, whether it's to get a GED or whether it's to get an MBA. They're going to help them thanks to this tax cut measure. And they're also investing more in their stores. So this is happening all over the country. So in addition to the individual tax relief we've talked about today, on the business side, we see lots of folks who are in the middle class in Ohio, having a tough time making ends meet, benefiting not just from the individual tax relief, but also from the fact that on the business side, a lot of businesses are providing bonuses, increasing wages, helping on 401ks. helping in terms of, in this case, education, some in healthcare. I've had 13 of these meetings around the state. We've also had a half dozen business roundtables. So I've been able to talk to literally dozens of Ohio companies, and I'll ask them specifically, what does this mean for you? And the stories are really gratifying because they are focused on helping their people, investing in their people. They are focused on improving technology and equipment, and therefore making their companies and their workers more competitive. And again, that's why you see the economic growth numbers going up. For this year, CBO had projected 2% economic growth. Not very exciting. Now they're projecting 3.3% economic growth this year. And again, they attribute a lot of that to the tax reform and tax cuts. So this is a big deal because it helps people to be able to get their piece of the American dream, whatever it is. And maybe it's doing a little bit more in terms of their retirement, maybe a little more in terms of education, maybe getting broadband for their kids so they can come home and do their homework, don't have to stay at school or go to a library. Whatever it is for them, that's what this tax reform bill and tax cut bill is doing for the people I represent.
Thanks, Rob. So it's out with the old, in with the new.